Welcome to the Healers Café, the number one show for medical practitioners and holistic healers to have heart to heart conversations about their day to day lives while sharing their expertise for improving your health and wellness.
Welcome to the Healers Café. And today I have with me Karyne Daniels. And she's an internationally acclaimed as a choreographer, sacred dance specialist, and worship soloist renowned for her emotive performances. Karyne leads the esteemed Sacred Dance Path, offering exclusive programs worldwide through premier online and in-person platforms. Her innovative movement system, blending Polynesian heritage with urban stylings, radiates an inspirational energy that fosters profound soul body spirit enrichment. And as a performer, Karyne's illustrious career includes captivating audiences in prestigious venues such as Las Vegas, Reno, Lake Tahoe, as well as notable appearances in major motion pictures such as Dick Tracy with Madonna and My Blue Heaven with Steve Martin, and television shows such as Up All Night with Patti LaBelle. And I could go on, but I think the rest I'm going to leave a little bit to you to expand upon, and particularly what inspired you, like to, because for you, I know it ties into uh, to healing on some level because it's like the gift of movement, the gift of dancing, and it's something that calls to our spirit as well. So I just wanted to find out before we go into it and your methodology and what you do and all of that, what actually inspired you in this direction in life?
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you, Manon. Am I pronouncing your
Manon, yeah. It's a
Manon?
French name, yes.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for having me here. And what inspired me into the sacred dance path was I had been a dancer all my life since the age of 5. And it just continued and all the way through my 20s and 30s. And I was very blessed to become a professional at the age of 18. But when I reached a turning point in my life here on Maui, where I live, my second daughter was born, and I was about, 41, I guess.
Mhm.
And um, I was going through a divorce, my second divorce, and facing being a single mom again for the second time in my life. And here on Maui, I know it sounds like, oh, you live in Maui, paradise. Well, it's fun to visit, but when you have to make a living here, it's very difficult. It's a very expensive place. There's not a lot of opportunities. It's not Los Angeles where I used to get work over the phone. I would just call and say, "Hi, I was in the movie Dick Tracy. You're hired." I would get
Yeah.
it was that quick, and work would manifest really quick. But
Mhm.
uh,
Mm.
it's nobody cared about my resume. Nobody wanted to know any movies I was in. Nobody cared. I had to find a different way. And since I was going to be a single mom and I wasn't moving off the island, I didn't have the means to do that. I had to create a path for myself.
Mhm.
So I just tapped in and began praying, and I began feeling led to just wake up in the morning, get my daughter situated, and set her up in her play area. And then I made this little makeshift studio right next to her.
Mhm.
I would go in and I said, I'm just going to pray and dance. I just felt led to, I had never really done that before
Wow. Mm.
strategically.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
This time I was like, I need to seek an answer, and all I have is dance.
Mhm.
That's my only profession that I've ever had. So I have this really powerful playlist of music, very inspirational and spiritual. So I lined up my playlist and I put it on and I went in every morning and I sought and I beckoned God and I prayed and I meditated. And this continued as my ritual.
Mhm.
And I began slowly seeing the fruit of that come forward. And over time, I did start hearing things. I started hearing spirit lead me. First of all, spirit gave me the name of my company, which is called Sacred Dance Path.
Mhm.
I was like, oh, okay. And that opened up my mind. And then I heard spirit say to me, what you're doing right now for yourself, you're doing dances that have meaning and purpose and have a message. You're going to teach other women the same thing. So, long story short, it was born out of a crisis. And from that point on, I began choreographing these little dances, which are, I call little medicine dances. And
Mhm.
I started teaching them around the island. And then I started teaching children's classes and actually really doing the same thing, but for children in
Right.
upbeat, really good music that had a message. And the parents loved it, the moms loved it, and then they wanted it for themselves.
Right. Of course.
The moms in there, and it's just been snowballing. And now, what is it? It's like 16 years later, and I'm still
Oh,
doing it. And now I'm doing it online as well.
wow, that's quite a story. But it's like it just shows, sometimes we just have to check in, in and, you know, give ourselves that time, whether it's in prayer or in whatever, but open the space to receive information, it's quite amazing that I mean, it's not surprising, but it's amazing that it came to you that way. Huh, interesting.
A spiritual person. I remember at 5 years old, I believed in God. Now, when my relatives, they were Puerto Ricans from New York, and they'd all sit around the table talking about God and church, and I would listen around the corner, and I was like, I was always fascinated when they spoke about God, and so it was always a subject that resonated with me, and I always kind of look deeper into things that would happen in my life. Even in high school, I would say, oh, that was God, if something kind of synchronistic happened. So I've always been leaning in that direction. Then, of course, as an adult, living a very spiritual life. But in my classes, that's what I try to inspire my students to do is first, I always remind them why we're here. It's not just a dance class. It's the dance is like an excuse,
Mhm, mhm,
and then we use the dance to go deeper. So I think it's really important that men and women take the time every day, even if it's 5 minutes, just tune in and tap in and get instructions from.
mhm. So what do you think movement actually, how does it play into all of this? Like, I mean, because people can sit and meditate.
Yes.
Thank God they came up with walking meditations because I'd go nuts.
I do my walk every morning too.
But but what is it about movement that you feel connects?
Well, I think God is moving.
Mm,
God
mhm.
is and God is movement. And when we lock step with the spirit, then we are in the flow. I think
Interesting.
but there's also a value as well to stillness.
Mhm.
So, it's both. But I say, God is in the movement. And so that's number one. Number two, to stay healthy as individuals, we have to move energy through our body.
Yeah.
We, it can get stuck in different parts. And it can fester and, disease can come out of that. So we really have to be vigilant to
Mhm.
keep energy moving, cycling through.
Mhm.
And in that, we can let go of things that don't serve us and receive new energies and new ideas and new vibrations.
Mhm.
Um, so, movement on a practical level, it's great for blood flow,
Mhm.
uh, clears the cobwebs. I know when I go to teach my class, and my students come in too, sometimes it's after a long day of work and they're drudging up the stairs and they're like, oh, I almost didn't make it today. And I'm like, just wait. And then after class, nobody wants to leave. It's like they're lit up.
Mhm. Mhm.
I can see a glow
Mhm.
around their face.
Yeah.
And the whole energy changes.
Mhm.
So there's that.
Mhm.
Then there's that meditative quality. As you're moving, if you put your prayer into the movement, it kind of activates your prayer. It gives life to it.
Mhm. Mhm.
I've gotten some of my best breakthroughs and resolutions and answers while dancing.
Mhm. Mhm.
Sometimes I'll even write it down as a point of contact. Like, if I need an answer for something in my life, I'll write it down, fold it up, and I'll tuck it in and put it over my heart and then dance with it as a point of contact, as a way of showing my faith and my intention of seeking an answer.
Mhm.
That's a wonderful practice.
Mhm.
Does manifest results.
So the difference between dance and movement in your mind is what? In the way that I mean, not when you were doing choreographic dancing and, when people go, okay, wow, that's a whole other level. But in the way that you're talking now, what is the difference between, because a lot of people will say, oh my God, I can't dance. I've got two left feet. you know, then you
Right?
say movement and they seem like, yeah, okay, everyone's got to move. So what is it for you? Is there actually a difference between dance and movement?
Well, I call it sacred dance. So
Mhm.
that's the term, and it is universally used, and many cultures have their form of sacred dance. So, sacred dance is dance that brings focus to God or Creator or Spirit. And so it's with a completely different intention. So, the intention with sacred dance is not to be flashy, not to be doing big executions of movement or technical things. It could be just a gesture, it could be just lifting the hands and swaying. But if your heart is posturing in prayer,
Mhm.
you're doing sacred dance. So,
Mhm.
so that's what I promote is sacred dance, and it could be, as I said, just very simple movement to very what I do Polynesian. So I do hula, Tahitian, I weave in the indigenous form with contemporary form. But, and I always tell people it doesn't have to be perfect.
Mhm.
Even if you don't get one step that I'm doing, as long as you're in the vibe and
Mhm.
you're speaking, you're going to receive.
Mhm.
So, so yeah, there's worldly dance, dance for fun at the nightclub, which I love doing too, where you're just going to break a sweat and you're going to move and groove. And then there's sacred dance,
Mhm.
which is intentional, which
Mhm.
is meditative, which is prayerful,
Mhm.
which goes deeper into the deeper layers. And really, it helps build your connection to the Creator. So
Mhm. Mhm.
describe the difference.
Mhm. Okay. And when you say you would, in this sacred dance, you're praying. What does prayer, because again, that has lots of meanings too. What do you understand by pray?
What would your life be like if you were pain free? If you were one of the millions who suffer from chronic pain, The thought of just one day without it may seem impossible. This is often because conventional medicine tends to fall short in the treatment of pain, opting to prescribe pills or recommend surgery rather than getting to the root cause of the problem. But if you are suffering with emotional or physical pain, there is hope. Join the founder and CEO of Bowen College, Manon Bolliger, live online for your body-mind reboot. Learn how to listen to your symptoms and get to the root cause of your pain. Plus, be trained in basic Bowen therapy moves so that you can reboot your body for optimal health. You don't have to live in pain. You can heal. Stop the pain pill cycle by visiting www.yourbodymindreboot.com to learn more and to register.
Well, I come from a Christian perspective, but my students are all faiths. So everyone is welcome in the class. And so really it's just communication with your maker. I mean, most people can gather around that we have a higher power. There's a higher vibration. And so it's consciously communicating with that. And for me, it's talking to God through my dance, and sometimes even using each gesture as a word. What one of my quotes, because I have a series of dance quotes that I write, is dance like God is watching. So when you adopt that mindset, okay, my creator, the source of life, the supplier of my blessings and my healings and my needs is watching me. How would I dance? How would I show myself? How would I gesture? How would I communicate through movement to show my gratitude, my thankfulness for the gift of life? Sometimes we just do that. You know, I'll just put on some beautiful inspirational music and I'll say, we're just going to do a love dance to God. We're just going to communicate in your own way and tap in. And as you're dancing, listen. Listen with the ear, your literal ear, and the ear in your heart. See what comes through. It's really powerful. It's transformative. I it's very common to have my students just go into tears right. And I say, keep going. That's it. The spirit is coming upon you right now. Stay in that. And I'll direct them to stay in that because the tears aren't a bad thing. You know, that's getting closer and closer to the spirit, and your soul is reacting. So everyone prays in a different way. I pray out loud sometimes. I talk, so I have an audible sound. So there's a power in the audible.
Yeah.
Then you add movement, and you add emotion and feeling. So I try to include it all. Mental, physical, spiritual, emotional, all elements happening at once. And sometimes you could go in with no intention. You just want to tap in. Sometimes you go into the dance with an intention. Like, I have a need, I need a healing, or God help me with this, a job, a breakthrough in my work, or finances, or family restoration. It could be any subject. You can bring that. So, and I've seen healings happen as well, right in the middle of the dance.
Yeah, I can see that. And the other thing too, I mean, it brings it takes you out of your mind, the focus of thoughts, because now the body speaks its own language. So you're naturally more creative if you allow your body to take you where it's going to take you in the dance, you know? So I think that's a different connection as well. And when you're sitting, and again, I'm not saying it's wrong to sit and meditate, but a big consuming aspect of learning to meditate is to work with these thoughts, and it's like, because they're the predominant thing happening when nothing's happening. I mean, there's your breath, but I think when you're moving, it's almost like you take away that layer of complication, and then your body is free if you allow it, right? And then it's like another layer that's happening that makes it easier to communicate. And I think that's why so many kids, they naturally dance, right? They hear a sound or music or rhythm, and it's in them, and they're free with that. And then as we become adults, we create all these boundaries.
We lose it and we have to find it again.
Yeah, I agree.
So I have my group of women that I teach here on Maui. We're just like a bunch of little girls
Mm,
in the studio, just uninhibited, just free.
mm,
I always inspire them to just dance freely. And I call them divine daughters. I say,
mm,
divine daughter,
mhm,
dance. How does a divine daughter dance?
mhm, mhm.
I kind of try to say things like that to get their mind around it, to set the tone.
Right.
Uh, but yeah, there's a childlike quality, which is very powerful because we do need to be like children. Even though we age and we get older, we can still be childlike,
Mhm,
and dancing is a reflection of that.
mhm, mhm. Interesting. Okay. So, is there anything else that, because I really don't know your field, and is there anything else that you think that is really important that people understand about this whole process, or um, if people have, conditions that, because this is the Healers Café, right? So people are often looking at, what can this modality or that do for them? Where would you tell them to start with um, with dance and with this form of connection? Where do they start?
Well, first of all, this sacred dance is for everyone, even men, men and women. And it's really just at its simplest, it's just moving naturally.
Mm,
And so don't think of any, like I said earlier, big dramatic dance moves. It could be swaying back and forth. It could be just pacing, pacing in your living room and just lifting your hands. And before you know it, your hands are going to want to do something else.
mhm, mhm.
Then
Yeah.
just then they're going to go to the right, and then they're going to go to the left, and then one's going to reach, and then all of a sudden you're doing these moves
Mhm,
and you're creating your own movement.
mhm,
So if they could first of all just start naturally, just start with lifted hands and swaying, and then they'll naturally go. Number two, pick a song or music that you love.
mhm,
So music is half the experience. So my classes that I teach are just, the music is stellar. So
mhm,
music alone just leads the women into movement.
mhm,
So pick music that's inspiring, maybe spiritual, maybe it's a worship, maybe it's, some type of song, even an instrumental
mhm,
that moves you or that you've always loved, or every time it comes on, you go, oh, I love this song. Put that on and get your playlist going. Then just set an intention, whether it's, God, I want to hear you, or I have a healing that I need. If you have a healing, put your hand on that part of your body and dance.
mhm,
It's a heart healing. Your
mhm,
hips, your head, your shoulder. Just believe that the spirit is coming in, and see that part of your body renewed, restored, back to its rightful state of health. Speak words of gratitude and love over that spot. And all of this is happening while you're moving, while you're swaying. So I do a practice in my classes called Ho'oponopono. Have you heard of that?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
So we do it in dance form.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it's very unique. And
Are
it's
you able to demonstrate it, or do you it's hard sitting, but
well,
yes.
I can, it's very simple.
Okay.
You know, the Ho'oponopono consists of 4 phrases. And the first phrase is, I'm sorry. And so this is the gesture for I'm sorry. And we're just swaying.
Yeah.
The next statement is, please forgive me. So we offer a cup of forgiveness
Okay.
as we're swaying and breathing. The next phrase is, I love you. And I tell my students to create waves of love over their body or the area that needs healing. And then the final phrase is thank you, because we always end with gratitude. And then it repeats and it goes. So we're basically just swaying our hips. That's where the hula comes in. Very powerful to sway and use the core. And then we continue with those gestures. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I love you. And thank you. I also invite my students to say it out loud as we're dancing. So then they have that the audible quality, and then the movement, then the prayer. And by the end, we could be crying. I mean, it's very emotional. It's a very emotional experience, and very beautiful, but extremely transformative. So I believe that this way of looking at dance is the movement of the future. I believe, and because I work with women, I believe every woman should be moving sacredly and intention, because it is what the world needs right now. I'm feminine. It's time to rise up on the mountaintop of her life and lead with love, power, and truth. And it's in the movement, because I believe God is not stagnant. God is moving in the tree, ocean.
Yeah.
The flowers are blooming. Everything is alive. God is constantly in motion. And when the divine feminine taps into that, we're unstoppable. And we carry the medicine, not only for ourselves, but for our families, for our communities, and out to the world.
Yeah, beautifully said. It really feels like it's integrated, through the body, all of those aspects, which is why I think it's so powerful, just feeling into how you're explaining it. Anyway, but thank you so much for sharing all this. And if people are interested, because you said you have some things online now, or did I misunderstand?
Well, I go in and out of it. I have little
Okay.
pop up all the time, so I never know, but I try to do something every month.
Okay.
But they could always find me at my website, which is sacreddancepath.org. And of course, I'm online. I'm on Facebook and Instagram, and but yeah, I have always a little something coming up, and I'll post it on the first page of my website. So
Okay. And do you have a list of you know songs or music, that you recommend? I mean, everyone chooses their own, but do you have a list of, somebody who doesn't know?
Sent out a playlist in my newsletters.
Oh, oh, wonderful.
I felt inspired to put together a worship playlist so people could go to that place.
Yeah.
And they don't have to search for music. So if they email me, you could reach out to me, and I'll get you on my mailing list.
Right. Okay.
With song selection, and I could even help design a sacred dance practice for people that weave into their personal life.
Right.
So if you're a prayer person, or you do meditation or have devotional time, I can show them how to weave in this component into that time.
Wonderful. Okay, well, thank you so much for your knowledge and your share. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us at the Healers Café. If you haven't already done so, please like, comment, and subscribe with notifications on, as I post a new podcast every Wednesday with tons of useful information and tips for natural healing that you won't want to miss.